Welcome, everyone. We hope you enjoyed the film, Autism, the sequel. I'm Joe Ricciardi, and I'm the Director of Clinical Services for Vinfen, Developmental Services and Brain Injury Services. I'm a licensed psychologist, and I've been helping support children, families, and adults with autism for about 25 years. And for me, this was a very inspiring and moving documentary. It gave me a lot of hope, but better. As I talked with the panelists over the past couple of weeks, I found even more inspiration. And I think it's going to help me in my work, and that's what I hope you're going to experience today. So this is our panel discussion, and we'll start with some questions to our panel. And then after this, we'll have an opportunity to hear from you, your reactions to the film and your questions. And we have 5 panelists. 2 of them were featured in the documentary, and these are our stars of the film. That's Wyatt Isaacs and Mandela Walden. And our stars are going to be joined by 3 others. Rosanne Katon Walden, she's Adam's mom, and she is a force for advocacy and change in the lives of people with autism. We also have Elaine Hall. She's the artistic director and founder of the Miracle Project, which is a forum for individuals with autism at all levels of ability to experience artistic expression in theater and film, and to enjoy a community of artists. And it was featured in the movie Autism, the musical. And we also have a professional with us, Maria Stefano. She's an advocate and coordinator for services for people with autism in Massachusetts. We're going to start with Maria. So let me tell you a little bit more about her. So Maria Stefano is currently autism program coordinator for the DDS Metro region. And in this role, she collaborates and designs and analyzes services for people with autism. And she serves as a liaison to schools, to service providers, to other state agencies. And she supports service coordinators and area offices and cultivates community relationships. Maria speaks on autism to families and providers and stakeholders at conferences, webinars, and trainings. And her background also includes providing services, direct services of applied behavior analysis to students in schools and homes and residential settings. So she brings 20 years of experience working in the field of autism spectrum disorder, very passionate about her work. And when asked about the vision behind her work, she says, well, I hope someday for an open world that is naturally attuned to the needs of everyone. That's a beautiful sentiment and a beautiful vision. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you, Joe.
Maria, I have a question for you. Given your experience with the families in Massachusetts, how representative is this film of the experience of Massachusetts families with young adults with autism?
Well, I think this film is very representative of the experiences that young adults and families go through in Massachusetts and everywhere. I think it's a common theme. The emotions of the film were so real. And I think that they're familiar to people who have gone through the experiences, and then for people who haven't yet. I think it can be very helpful and guiding. Transition can be a challenging time with unknowns and expectations, and excitement and joy as well. But I think it really captured those different feelings of moving out of the family home for the first time, or employment, or living independently, or going to college. So I think that what I gleaned from the film was that for families and individuals to watch who haven't yet gone through those experiences, just to show that things are going to be okay and even great.
You know, I agree with you. I think that there was a very genuine component with the range of emotions. It was certainly joyful, but it wasn't without its worries. And I think that that's realistic. And that's what I really liked about the documentary. Very realistic. So in your experience, when it comes down to families having a hard time getting the services they need, do you think it's related to awareness, or lack of awareness, or availability of the services, navigation of services? What do you think's going on there when families have a hard time?
I think it's probably a combination of all of it. Navigating the system is difficult. There is a lot to learn, but you will meet a lot of helpful people along the way. And I guess if I can offer a bit of advice, is take advantage of all of the information that people have to offer. Families who have been through it, individuals, providers, people who work for state services, ask all of your questions and ask them twice if you need to. Just really take advantage of everyone there who is willing and going to be helpful to you. regarding the availability of services, that's ever changing, depending on what the current landscape is. And right now we are in a staffing crisis, but we have seen a lot of collaboration and a lot of creativity. And so while there is work to do, I'm really hopeful for the future and what's come out of that and what we're still working on.
Well, speaking of creativity, I understand that you're part of the development of a new creative option, maybe for young adults with autism, the Easter Seals Project. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Certainly. So Easter Seals was a pilot. They were a provider for a pilot program for us for college navigation. And this is specific to the individuals with autism we support, what we refer to as autism-only population, individuals with autism without intellectual disability. And now we have really grown this into a service where we have providers from across the state helping individuals navigate college campus for the first time. So while it's not really about the academic piece, and DDS doesn't fund academics or books or tutoring, it's about everything else that goes into being on campus for the first time. Accessing your professors, which could be a little intimidating for anyone starting college the first time, or roommate relations, or accessing the disabilities office or the health office. So it was really very helpful for individuals that we support and the students that we support for all of those reasons, and then for executive functioning and really to work out different systems. We're really, really happy that this program is available for individuals across the state.
Yeah, well, we're going to hear soon from Wyatt, who graduated college, and then also from Adam, who's in his senior year. So it'll be really interesting to hear their input on what they could guide you on, what students are going to need. One more thing, Maria. I'm curious about your reflections on the film. Maybe your thoughts on some moments that meant so much to you, or what it might mean for families or people with autism who are going to see this film.
Sure. What I, in watching the first film and then 12 years later watching the sequel, something that I noted was the piece of inclusion. And even where we were 12 years ago or where we were 20 years ago, and what inclusion really means today, versus, a while back where it might mean a bunch of people getting in a car and going shopping for the day. And now it has so much more to do with including neurotypical, including the general population, and maybe not even specific services for people with disabilities, but that whatever is out there is open for people with disabilities to access. And I really, it was just great to see that in the film and see how that was displayed and see the change over time. And we still have a ways to go, but I'm excited for the future.
Yeah, thanks, Maria. I'm hearing it again, your hope for an open world. And so here you are looking at those features of the film and really moving you. So it makes sense to me. We're going to move to our next panelist. And our next panelist was featured in the film. That's Wyatt Isaacs. And Wyatt is a 26-year-old man with autism, continues to work to create the life he wants to live, and strongly believes in the power of his circle of friends and family, supports, teachers, mentors, guides who have helped him, who have been behind him and helped him achieve this. To Wyatt, a person with autism means they are awesomeism. What a great word. I can't wait to hear about that. Mm-hmm. Being in documentaries like this has given him the opportunity to shine light on his important perspectives. He's been a panelist for many film festivals, and he fosters dialogues on inclusion and anti-bullying and how important the practice of acceptance is for people with autism. And he also wrote and performed the song Sensitive at the Autism is Awesomeism concert that he and his mother produced at the Grove in Los Angeles. And by the way, he once performed Sensitive with Jack Black. Now, how's that? Wyatt recently graduated from Portland State University, works at LA Fitness. He volunteers at Cycle Oregon and Autism Speaks, and is considering a long-term sustainable career where he can continue to make headway for people with autism, for himself. And he described himself as, and this is great, he described himself as, quote, an advocate for living with purpose, intention, and happiness. And I hope that my story can impact others. Wyatt, can I get some of your amazing optimism someday? Just a little half of it.
Yeah, definitely the optimism. So cool. Just
well,
like
really great to see you. Really great to see you, Wyatt, as one of the stars, Tell us a little bit about how it impacted you to be in Autism the Musical, Autism the Sequel, and how it's affected your life since then.
Yeah, Autism the Musical and Autism the Sequel really impacted me because it helped me to understand that autism is great, and it helped, impacted so many people worldwide. And that I felt like that was really cool, that it opened up like to the world. What is autism? Because, we know, oh, it's autism is diversity, and it's really cool. And then now it's in colleges, and now it's like it opened the doors to many good opportunities for me and for all my fellow filmmakers and all my fellow autism. There's a Think College program, which got me to college. So it's great. The film opened many awesome, amazing doors.
I told you before that a friend of mine, 28-year-old man with autism, and he hadn't heard of the documentaries, and I told him about it, and he wrote it down quickly. How do I get to see this? But I did check in with him after, and loved the movies. And he said what you said. It just goes to show you that people with autism are out there. We do a lot more than you might think, and the world is open to us. And he got that from your film.
Nice. Yeah, that's really moving. It's kind of like a bittersweet, like a happy cry, like, wow, it goes to show that, it impacts people with autism, neurotypicals. Maybe they can learn how to interact with someone with autism and learn how to with all the inclusion and all, and, know that it's a little harder so that's the social cues, but we still can get there. It just shows a lot of positivity. Like there's a light at the end of the tunnel, kind of. That's what this film really shows.
I think so. And you mentioned that you've achieved a lot, like college and all, with a wonderful circle of supports. Mm-hmm. What are some of the supports that have helped you to do things like, for instance, to navigate your way through college?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, there was definitely like peer navigation definitely helped, like a fellow college who is not autistic, and they helped me navigate around, walk around, and also just to hang out with and get to know all the events, and definitely the hard, navigate my classes and navigate how to go through, financial aid and go, where do I go? And just kind of, so definitely there's a big group of other people that helped me out. And that we had seminars, every Friday we had a seminar talking about what are the supports and what are the different things. So definitely there's staff that helped, definitely just learning about different people and meeting my professors beforehand and talking about accommodations. The Disability Resource Center was definitely a big key in the success, because disability, it just helped me get different, if I needed some hand ice, something to squeeze so that the professor can understand, oh, it's not that he's getting distracted, it's that he's a little bit overwhelmed, or just it helped. The DRC is definitely a great resource.
That's great advice for Maria, who's helping to develop a program in Massachusetts. So Disability Resource Center was a huge help for you on campus.
Yeah.
What about when you entered the workforce? Where did your circle of supports help you out there?
Yeah, that means the job coaching was a really, really good help. And also just, because they helped me, if I forgot the skill, the job coach taught me in a way that helped me. And also they had they also had Gabriella, who's an emotional specialist. She helped me kind of make a plan for when I get stressed or when I get fidgety, how to accommodate that into the workforce. Because for everybody, we got to learn that just because you're nonverbal, my friend Stefano, he's nonverbal, he works at Baja Fresh. So it's you can, just because you different ways to communicate, they have different ways to, whatever your barrier is, you can work. You can be just as successful as a normal person. It doesn't matter, we all definitely have, communication doesn't have to be a barrier. Fidgeting doesn't have to be a barrier. Nothing can be there's no barrier. You can work just like everybody else and you feel like you're a contribute to society.
Absolutely. And also, I think a lot of what you mentioned, fidgety or navigating some of the social complexities, that's actually something that everyone struggles with, And I don't know that it's all autism. I know that you have a resource and someone who really helped you, but for sure, that's something we all have to struggle with. And in some ways, you probably have something to teach neurotypical individuals with all that you've learned.
Definitely, yeah. I teach them that it's okay. We all get you know, and I realize we all get fidgety sometimes. I mean, I believe we all have a little autism in us, whether we look typical or we're not. We all have a little bit. Maybe we just learn from each other, you know, how to navigate that part.
Yeah, learn from each other. It's a beautiful sentiment.
Yeah, so cool.
Hey, one more thing. If you were to recommend this movie to, I don't know, either a person with autism or a family member of a person with autism, what would you tell them about it so they'd want to go see it?
Oh,
I tricked you
okay,
with it.
yeah, there we go. That the movie definitely helps the family dynamic. It helps, like, because Trisha went into the family and like showed like how an autistic person interacts with their mom. It helps with like it really helps like shed light on how like you can get down with them. You can have like people that get down with them and help them integrate into our world.
I think that's a really good point, because I could see a family or my friend with autism to see that movie and also feel rather hopeful after it and know that there's the world is wide open and there's plenty of options. I know that was the takeaway of my friend for sure. So thanks, Wyatt. Our next panelist is our second star of the film, Adam Mandela Walden. And Adam is a Los Angeles native, and he is a prodigious music savant and a young adult with moderate severe autism. Adam and his mother, Rosanne, were in the film. During his early education years, Adam became the first autistic student requiring an aid in an LA unified school district, and performing at an arts magnet school after he played Bach for the school board, which opened the door for 181 additional magnet schools to welcome severely autistic students. He and his mom opened those doors. And then throughout his elementary years, he studied classical cello at the Colburn School and played jazz with LA-based The World Stage, located in Leimert Park Village. And he played with Wynton Marsalis, with Paul Schaefer, with Jackson Browne. And he became a 7-year member of the Harmony Project and became the first autistic musician to tour with Venezuelan conductor Gustavo Dudamel with the Youth Orchestra of Los Angeles, YOLA. And despite having limited functional speech, he graduated with an academic diploma from his high school, which was the Ramon C. Cortina School for Visual and Performing Arts. And he won a full academic scholarship, a 4-year full scholarship to Berklee College of Music, the Boston Music Conservatory at Berklee, where he's currently a senior. And he attends every class with a communication facilitator. His mom, Rosanne, has really dedicated her life to being his advocate and ensuring he has a voice and he's able to pursue his dreams. So the list of Adam's achievements could go on, but instead of listening to them, stick around, because after the panel, Adam's going to perform for us. But for now, Adam, what was it like seeing yourself in these films?
I'd like seeing Trisha again. I'd like seeing my friends in class.
All right. Well, thank you, Adam. We appreciate that. And I have another question. What do you want people to know about you outside of what's portrayed in the films?
What do you like to do? You like what, trains?
Yes,
Tell us.
I like trains.
And
I don't know.
Adam really likes trains. He's got a Charlie card, and he travels all over Boston area with his Mr. Dolan. Oh, talk about Mr. Dolan. Who's Mr. Dolan?
He's the new Easter Seals helper.
Yes, and you love him. Yeah, he's a really nice. Yeah, we've been very, very lucky with our aides. Adam only had 2 aides the whole time he was in school. He had one from preschool through 8th grade and one from the end of 8th grade through high school, because the one at 8th grade became completely blind. She was always legally blind. And she was completely blind for a year before Adam transitioned to another aide. And so Adam had to learn how to communicate that, how to work that with Miss V, and they're both still in our lives, Miss Wu and Miss V, the two aides that he had. And now we have an aide who is a choreographer as well as an aide. And so he goes to all of Adam's classes with him. I go to a lot of the performance classes because sometimes it's specific things that the conductor wants to make sure that Adam understands. And since Dallin is not a musician, and I'm not a musician, but I've had to learn it, I can do that. But
Rosanne, I'm thinking of something that Wyatt said, because he described this as a circle of supports, not naming any one person, and I hear you the same. So you're pointing out that I guess supports are more than one person for sure.
yeah, and one of the things that's obvious to me, at least, having been in this situation with Adam, is that very often people say, well, our goal is that he'll be able to do it without supports. And sometimes that's like a goal for failure. Because right now, I do not see in the near future Adam being able to do this without supports. And so what we need to do is we need to find a way that the people who provide the supports have good salaries, good jobs, and stay as supplying supports. Very often young people who are doing the kind of work like in the Easter Seals program are doing it right after college, and because they're not getting the kind of salaries that they would need to have to make that a lifelong career. So, you know, we have to start to think about how we're going to do that, how we're going to make sure that they get the salaries that we know they deserve.
Hey, Rosanne, I think I should at last introduce you. It's wonderful now. They've been a big help, and but you are our next panelist. So let me introduce who's been speaking. You know, Rosanne Katon Walden is Adam's mom. I said before that she was a force for advocacy, and she certainly is for individuals with autism and their families. And she and Adam have testified, for instance, on behalf of the class action decision that provided federal judicial monitoring of programs in Los Angeles Unified School District, opening up those 180 magnet schools. And Mom also spoke about discovering a 23-year ban on students with autism attending the magnet school programs in the LA district. That was her testimony. Adam testified by playing Bach on his cello. What a profound way of testifying to ability. And after his testimony, Adam became the first student with classical autism to attend a performing arts magnet school in Los Angeles and opening the door for others. The resolution, of course, continues to this day with many, many individuals living with autism able to attend these schools. So, Rosanne, much of Adam's ability to integrate within this college environment is because really of your ability to be present and advocate on his behalf. That's what we've been hearing. What would need to change so a young adult with autism could find the same success, maybe without a fully present parent?
Well, one of the things that we're doing at Berkeley is that I've been able to put together the diversity department with the special ed department, because the diversity department has sort of a political muscle to it that the special ed department does not have. And so one of the things that we have been doing is that everything that we've fought for Adam to get at the school, we're trying to institutionalize that so that it will be in place when other students come in. When we first came in, I mean, there was actually a teacher that that started a petition to get Adam kicked out of the school, which was like, it was absolutely insane. And fortunately, Berkeley has an ethics portal, which is run by outside of the school. And I was able to go to the ethics portal, and you can use your name or not. Well, we used our name and we said, this is what's going on. And so what we did is we were able to come up with, we had a couple of meetings, and the president of Berkeley has been involved, very much involved in this. And when a lot of people are scared to see Adam come into the classroom, because Adam is, you know, he he comes in with an aide. One of the things is that one of the teachers did not want an aide in the class. You know, these colleges have not had the learning curve that public elementary schools and high schools have had, where they've seen the aides start to come into the classrooms. It was really shocking. I mean, they were absolutely shocked. So one of the things that we do is we're the chair of, whenever Adam is learning a new discipline at Berkeley, the chair puts out a bulletin to all the teachers who teach that and says, who's interested in teaching someone with moderate to severe autism? Rather than, at first they said, well, should we force them? They said, let's start this way, because then they can tell the other teachers in their department how exciting it was to teach Adam. So these
I just want to say one thing, Rachel. There's a particular brilliance in that, right? Let's start with people who say, yeah, I want to do that. And that becomes a model, maybe calming people who are, you know, afraid of what they don't understand.
exactly.
And there's, you know, I think we all in the field, there's such a joy in being a help to someone, being part of that circle of support. And this gives others to look at that and see that it can be done, and it can be very rewarding. I think it's a brilliant strategy.
It's so far it's worked. And the other thing is that the young people have all been around autistic people, because we've had inclusion in schools for this generation. And so they had no problem with it at all. And they have been able to teach the teachers. And so the college, one thing that it's really important is that colleges be reminded by Easter SEALs and other agencies that work with these kids that colleges are not on the hook to provide the funding for suggestions that we make. Because what happens is that when colleges started opening up to people on the spectrum, especially those on the moderate to severe end of the spectrum, what happened is, where did they go to look for people to run those programs? They went to public schools, where in public school districts, they're telling the whole program is based on how little are we going to spend per student. And so when you come into college, you say, well, this is completely new. Sometimes the parents at this point might be able to come up with some of the support. We got our support from California. Adam is the first student from California regional centers to have a paid aide. California is paying Massachusetts Easter SEALs to be Adam's aide for 35 hours a week. And we're the first ones to do it. And we're hoping for more. But so I think that's a real issue, is that the colleges are not sure who's supposed to pay and who's on the hook. So they need to know the law and the rules. Yeah. In terms of the magnet school thing, what happened was that when a decision could not be made as to which pot of money would bus children with AIDS and autism to the magnet school program, which in Los Angeles is specifically a diversity program. So there was a pot of money for integration and a pot of money for special needs. A decision was supposed to be made 30 odd years. The decision was never made. And since the decision wasn't made, for 30 years, they pulled out the applications of kids with autism and AIDS, and they sent them the letter saying they didn't win the lottery. They were never in the lottery, is what we found out.
That is a lot for a parent to have to take, right?
It was, well, the thing is, it just kept not adding up. And fortunately, I had a daughter in the public school district before Adam. So I kind of knew how things worked, and it still wasn't adding up. Yeah. And so basically the ACLU came to me after Adam played his Bach piece, and they wanted to do a class action lawsuit. And I said, well, first of all, it will not help Adam, but it will take 10 years to go through the system. So at that point, Ramon C. Cortines, whose Adams School hadn't been named for yet, we had a meeting with him, and they put out a bulletin right away and said that this stops right now. And for the first time, parents who had applied to magnet schools got either points or they got in. And the other thing that happened is that what would happen is very well-meaning inclusion specialists would say, I've never heard of someone going to one of these schools, so it must not be a good fit. You know,
yeah, but you guys have proven that. You showed that's just not true. And it's a wonderful ending of the story that now these parents don't get that letter, and they have someone they can look up to and say, yes, it's possible. I'd like to.
And the other thing is that when Adam, the first magnet school that Adam went to, the principal said, well, the first thing we want to do, our goal is to have him blend in. And I said, well, then we're going to fail, because Adam is designed to stick out. That is not going to work.
I'm also thinking of Wyatt, who said, you know, it's not about blending in. He said it's acceptance. That was a key word that Wyatt has taught us. I'd like to move on to Elaine Hall, our next panelist. And thank you so much, Rosanne. Thank you, Adam. Elaine is an internationally recognized thought leader on autism and inclusion. She has pioneered the use of arts to enhance quality of life for people on the spectrum, and also help them to create original content and celebrate neurodiversity. She's the founder of the Miracle Project, a fully inclusive theater and film program that's featured in the 2-time Emmy Award-winning film, Autism the Musical. And Elaine was also featured in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Boston Globe. She was on Oprah, NPR, CBS News. She also conducts evidence-based classes and workshops and trainings, and helps individuals with autism find their voice, their talents, their sense of belonging. She's produced and directed and co-written over 15 original musicals, and serves as a consultant to the UN and as a technical advisor and script consultant for TV and film. So as an acting and life coach, she supports people on the spectrum with their careers in entertainment. Elaine has a son with autism and is committed to changing the way the world perceives ability. So Elaine, my first question for you. Throughout the film, the importance of inclusion was evident. So why is the practice of inclusion still somewhat aspirational instead of being the norm even today?
Yeah, thank you, Joe. And I'm so moved and by what everybody is saying here. How Maria started out by that about having an open world, and then Wyatt talked about the acceptance, and Rosanne and Adam revealed the sometimes challenges but then successes of inclusion. And where I'm going these days is sort of beyond inclusion to true belonging.
Wow.
And that belonging, first, we have to belong to ourselves. We have to belong to who we are on the planet. And that's one of the ways that my work has, I would not so much pivoted, but deepened since I started the Miracle Project now almost 18 years ago, in that if we all belong to ourselves and understand who we are, then we'll be much more, as a world, we'll be much more able to accept and take it a step further, appreciate the differences in everyone. Because in reality, we all have quirks and challenges, and some of us, our quirks and challenges are more pronounced. I now identify as neurodivergent for my quirks and challenges, and yet at the same time, I've been able to use my gifts to my personal mission is to bring out the best in myself and others. So because of my own sense of belonging to my own neurodiversity, I have a way of perceiving the heart, the ability in everyone. Wyatt's mom and I, Elaine Isaacs, we crafted a book that's now being used as a textbook at Brown and other universities called the 7 keys to unlock autism. And it's not about changing the person who's autistic. It's not at all. It's about, as Maria so beautifully said, and it's about the world around us accepting themselves for who and what they are, and then being much more receptive to appreciating the differences in everyone. So taking inclusion to another level.
I get it. Yeah, no, I want to hear more about that. I think it's right when you said belonging, not inclusion. I think I got it because the light bulb went off. That I get the transcendence of that. Let me say,
Yeah.
I get that it means something not only about the person with neurodiversity. It's about all of us.
Yes.
What needs to change then for belonging to be actualized?
First, it's fundamental that everyone needs to accept their own personal challenges and appreciate their gifts. And then to really change the dialogue. I mean, I realize I got to change my bio, but that changing that dialogue Adam belongs at Berklee School of Music. Wyatt belongs as a leader in this film, and in the field, he belongs. And it's not about, inclusion to me almost feels at this point like, okay, I'm going to include my little sister on this gathering, right? Or none of us want to be included in our synagogue or included in our church we want to belong. We say, I belong to this place. So it's changing the dialogue. And looking at we all have support staff. It's not about being independent. It's about being interdependent, right? And some of us need more support than others. And that gives, what Rosanne was saying, it gives jobs to people and gives worthwhile jobs and meaningful jobs that aren't like, I'm going to be an aid to person. No, I'm going to be a support. I'm a personal assistant. We like to use the word personal assistant instead of aides. So, yeah.
Well, I wanted to say, I think I get some of that idea of belonging, transcending inclusion. Like you said, my little sister's included at the party, but that's not the same as she belongs there. I'm thinking again, when Wyatt said he is an advocate for living with purpose, intention, and happiness. And, Wyatt, that really struck me because I thought that is something that I could learn, and you belong here at this panel teaching me. You're not, Wyatt isn't included. He belongs here because he can teach us.
Right.
He's our teacher.
That's right. And at the Miracle Project, all of our classes, Miracle Project Theater and Film Program for individuals with and without disabilities. And at the Miracle Project, every class, there are people with disabilities, without disabilities, neurodivergent, neurodiverse. We're all in the same melting pot, and we all create together. So there isn't a sense of, I'm going to, bring in someone who's neurotypical to help someone who's for many of our actors and in our social skills class, the person without a disability, they could be the president of their high school class, but the place where they really feel they belong is at the Miracle Project. So creating a culture of inclusion, a culture of seeing everybody for their gifts and supporting their challenges. That's where it's at.
What's the Miracle Project up to these days?
Well, what we're doing a lot. We have social skills classes and life skills and job skills, as was spoken about, for all ages from 5 up to 45 now. We're virtual. So anyone around the world can participate in the classes. And we're writing original content, an anti-bullying play, Wyatt, you'll love, called The Intimidation Game. That's going to be available to the public from Broadway licensing. And we're screening a new original musical called Journey to Namu that is animated original musical that we created during the pandemic. And that's been So we're screening that in a couple of weeks. And then a number of our students are acting professionally in TV shows like Atypical or As We See It, films with Dakota Fanning. So the entertainment industry has embraced what we've been doing now for, so many years, and inspired by Autism the Musical and Autism the Sequel to create content and hire our kids, which is really cool. And composing, we're composing music. And I love, again, what Maria and Adam and Rosanne and Wyatt are doing to further that cause.
So what's up with Neil? How's your boy Neil doing?
My boy Neil, my young man Neil, my 2 feet taller than me Neil. So he's, it's peaks and valleys. He's been doing extraordinary and defying all the odds of what could be with someone who's non-speaking autistic. He's presented twice at the United Nations. He is receiving awards around the country. He's been a semi-professional model, and he's one of the leads in our show, or what we're going to be premiering, the Miracle Project premiering in April. And then he didn't get the supports that he needed because he was doing so well, as they say. They like to reduce supports, and that caused a lot of upheaval and challenge. And I think it's so important what was said about, it's not about reducing supports. It's like me, with my neurodivergent brain, I need a personal assistant to keep me organized. And I'm never going to outgrow that, because if I did, I wouldn't be able to be as creative and vibrant as I am.
Yeah, I think that was a brilliant point that Rosanne made, that it's not natural to say we grow out of all of our supports. I have supports that I know I need.
That's right. We always need it. And but Neil lives independently in his own apartment with support, with the necessary support. He has a roommate, a neurotypical roommate, and he's a cool dude around town. He loves his life. He started the program that you saw in Autism the Sequel, the Shemish Organic Farms. He was the first hiree. They saw how Neil loved to work, and he was the first hiree. And because of Neil, the Bill Kaplan, the head of the center, said, "We need more Neils." So
he belongs there.
He belongs there. Oh, so beautiful, Joe. And I think that's what Autism the Musical and Autism the Sequel and Wyatt and Rosanne and Adam keep showing, and Neil, is that things, it's not only that miracles happen, is that change happens. And by appreciating the gifts of these extraordinary, co-stars in this film, that by appreciating their gifts, the world becomes a much more exciting, vibrant place with possibility and new voices. And that's where our culture needs to evolve, by listening to these voices that are not often heard.
It's hard to comment. It's so beautiful. I agree with you. And it's eye-opening too. I think this is exactly what we're hoping that professionals like me in the audience are going to take away. And I think the confidence for families to hear that, your child has something to contribute. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. They belong. Yes. It's your next book, Elaine.
Okay, bring it on.
Let me just, before we go, I've been mentioning the name, I've been talking about Adam and all. I wanted to ask him, what's your favorite piece of music to play, Adam?
What's your favorite music to play?
Classical.
I know, but you have a favorite piece?
Stefano.
Well, one of his, he loves music from Spain. And he plays several pieces of music of Spanish composers. And sit up, Adam, and composers of, for instance, Ravel. In the original movie, Adam is obsessed with Bolero. Well, it turns out Ravel has written several pieces of Spanish music because his mother's from Spain. And so there's a through line all the way from the first documentary, but that's kind of become one of Adam's specialties. And Berkeley has a school in Valencia. And so after graduation, Adam's going to take some graduate courses in Valencia so that he can study with Casado's student, who's now a teacher there. And he's going to be playing a Casado piece. And what other pieces do you like? What's your favorite jazz piece to play?
All of Me.
You like All of Me?
Yes.
Yeah. You like? Yeah. He wrote his own arrangement to the jazz to Billie Holiday's All of Me. So.
What an accomplishment. What a wonderful achievement.
Yeah.
Rosanne, we have some audience questions, and the first one goes to you. One of our audience members wants to know, how can a parent of a child on the spectrum both fully advocate for their child while still maintaining a sense of self?
I have to tell you, it's, for me, when Adam was diagnosed, I knew that it was going to be a lot of work, because as a writer, I had written about autism 7 years before. So I knew even before Adam's father knew. I was saying, look, you have no idea what we're going to have to do in order to support Adam. And I wasn't talking about financially. So I had to find a way. I had to find things about autism that I was curious about and wanted to know. And one of the things that really helped for me is that as African American, I had been through the civil rights. My sister and 7 other girls, we integrated a school in Archie Bunker's Astoria. And I had to cross picket lines that my teachers were on. I had to cross picket lines with my teachers holding signs saying they didn't want me to be there. And there was a wonderful guidance counselor there who was Caucasian, of course. And she said, Rosanne, you don't have to like these people. They don't have to like you. They have information that you need. And so your job is to learn everything you can from them. Don't worry about the fact that they don't like you, and you don't have to like them. And that has stayed with me since I was 10.
That is amazing. That's why I keep using that word when I describe you. I introduce you, I say, she's a force. She's a force. And you really are. I mean, you don't let anybody back you down.
Well, the thing is that so much of what, in terms of inclusion and fighting for inclusion for Adam, is exactly the same fight that I was on the front lines of when I was 10 years old. I remember going into the office of the magnet schools, and this is when we were trying to figure out what was going on. And then all of the people that ran that division of the Los Angeles Unified School District were African American. And they were all saying, well, maybe we can have 1 or 2 or whatever. And I said, that's exactly what was said to me when I was trying to integrate Woodside Junior High. You have to understand that the fear is the same. It's the same fear of difference. It's the same fear of the world changing in a way that is frightening.
It's a wonderful insight, I think, into where these things come from. We have a question.
To just answer, it's such a powerful answer that Rosanne is giving about the global aspects. And just if I could comment on the personal aspect, how essential it is for a parent to take personal care of themselves, to breathe, to make sure that I was told early on by Dr. Stanley Greenspan, that I have to have my instrument as a finely tuned violin in the music to really take care of myself. And if that means go to yoga, meditate, go to my faith-based, do all the things that make me happy so that I can be the strongest and best for my son. And this is a marathon, not a as we know, our kids grow up, but we're still there with them. And it's a marathon, not a sprint. And the essential component of self-care and self-care for our relationships, our friends, my spouse, I've remarried, and my spouse, to really practice our own sense of individuation so that our children can also, we model that for our children.
Thank you, Elaine. That's wonderful advice for all of us and for parents who are watching. I have a question from the audience for Wyatt.
Mhm.
Wyatt, we know you're working at LA Fitness, but have you ever considered maybe work or volunteer or becoming a peer support worker? Someone who works to support other individuals with autism.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's definitely like I'm gonna be heading off to Africa to help some kids in need and for a little bit. So yeah, so definitely, and maybe just like people with autism, definitely I could help like PSW or just navigate, just help them navigate, help my peers.
Hold on, back up just a second. You're going to Africa to help?
Yeah, my aunt has an organization in Kenya with like people with. So I'm gonna just help out them for like a month. Just help out the kids there with school lunch programs and I did with they might have autism and just help people get fed and just different just like there was just an opportunity that just knocked on my door and I'm like, oh yes, I'll jump for it, but to help people less fortunate and to teach people like about America, and maybe I can help Africa become more accepting of autism too, like globally.
What an
On a
amazing
global
contribution. Wyatt, that's fantastic. I have a question from the audience for Maria. Maria, what is your thinking on how we might attract more professionals into the field who can provide some of the essential direct supports for people with autism?
Going back to inclusion, I think that's huge. And I used to work in the public school system and seeing what inclusion used to be and what it is now, and where students were pulled out for services, but now what's happening is it's being called pushed in. So the services are happening within the greater classroom. I'm saying all of that to set up the fact that all of the students are really going to experience everyone and experience everybody's abilities. And I think this is really an important point at a young age to have everybody have exposure to everyone else. And I think when we see young children interacting with kids' neurodiversity, this is really going to help the field later on. So that's a long view. In the shorter view, I think it's film festivals like this, and it's all of us talking about our experiences and who we know and what we've seen, and sharing a link to a movie like this or to the film festival.
I think that's a really good point, because when I meet people entering the field and they're new, it's generally because of something that inspired them. There's an emotional inspiration, and now I want to do some of that. And I think a movie like this could inspire people to want to be part of the field.
May I say something?
Yes.
Things that has been surprising to me, especially since I've been in Massachusetts, is I don't know if people realize it, but the state of California does not have a curriculum in the special day classes. There are no curriculum. Depends on the individual teacher what they want to do, and sometimes that boils down to stringing beads. And the state of Massachusetts has a curriculum, and it might be difficult to follow, but I think that one thing that we can all get behind, because what happens in terms of kids staying in the special day classes is that the minute you're in there, you fall behind. There's no such thing as separate but equal. It didn't work in civil rights, and it doesn't work in disability rights. And so, there's some of when we were at LAUSD, we met some wonderful inclusion specialists, and some things that they were trying to do when teachers came into the special day classes, they would say, at least the kids need to know what's happening in the world, okay? And so for some kids, you will talk about the title of the newspaper article. Some kids, you'll talk about the first chapter of the newspaper article. And some kids, you'll do a project on the whole newspaper article. But you can use that sort of technique to teach anything. And so that's why the thing is that you never, in LAUSD, you never get out of the special day class. You have to move to another state.
We have a question for Elaine. So someone in the audience is asking, why do you think music, theater, and art are such critical resources for people on the spectrum?
Yeah, what a good question. Music and creativity reaches the brain in ways that traditional academic education doesn't always reach. And rote learning or even rote social skills classes take away from the natural process of organic learning. So, and these aren't only for people who are gifted musically, you know, like Adam. For everyone, music can reach different aspects of the brain, and then also the concept of people working together to do something creative. When Tricia Regan first did Autism the Musical, that's what she wanted, to do a film about autism that wasn't about autism. It was about people creating and working together, and then what are the obstacles that get in the way. So we have an evidence-based study that was done with an NIMH grant, an NEA grant, on the Miracle Project and the efficacy of theater in developing confidence, creativity, and joy for those with and without autism. And so it does, and there is that sense of belonging. I mean, people in the creative field, we all feel kind of outsiders because we're the ones that impact change. So the arts are a great way to develop in that non-linear, spontaneous way.
We have a question for Maria. Maria, someone in the audience wants to know what programs exist or should be created to better support employment for people with autism.
Well, we certainly do through DDS services. We have employment supports that support individuals in really finding what their vision is, what they want to do, and then searching for that job, working on hard skills and soft skills, searching for a job, and then maintaining employment with a job coach afterwards. So moving forward, I think the best way to refine those services to meet the needs of the individuals, the adults that we support in Massachusetts, is maybe really putting a little more focus on that vision. So we do find the right jobs for individuals, because I know for a lot of time there are certain jobs that we think that we're going to see people with disabilities work in, and maybe there be the jobs that somebody is good at, maybe it's jobs they gravitate towards, but maybe it's not a job that somebody wants. So really focusing on each person and where their abilities are and where to go with that. And that's something we can refer to as job carving sometimes. So where we really find a job or create a job that matches the individual who's searching for the job. But I guess the ultimate answer to that is focusing on each person as somebody who is different than the next person, rather than just a mill of jobs and cycling people through them.
I really get your idea of focusing on the person's abilities and then individualizing a job around that. I have seen, well, early on in my career, I saw a man with autism being offered the opportunity to work as soon as he could tuck in his shirt and learn to keep his belt tight, etc. But the program director said, no, we're just going to go out there and work. And they started to work, and man, that guy looked great every day. He had a reason to tuck in your shirt and keep your belt tightened. So we can hold people back by a sort of a curriculum that is irrelevant. When the right motivations are present, people step up and they can show that they're more capable than they looked sitting in some sort of austere program. I've just seen that over and over again. So I really appreciate your idea about individualizing and kind of meeting a person where they're at and building from there. So we're going to be moving to a performance by Adam. So Roseanne, maybe you can help Adam get ready. I when I was reading about Adam's biography, I learned that he taught himself the harmonica at age 2. And that was the point where everyone thought there's something very profound about his musical abilities. And then at age 6, there was an attempt to, play a violin, but he was so excited and running around and everything. They said, we need to get him to sit down. And then it became, well, then it's a cello. So a cello, you have to sit. And his joy for playing the instrument was an easy way to sit in a chair because you get to play the instrument. And thus the master cellist was born. And by age 7, he was playing Bach. Isn't that amazing? So we have one last question here. And this question is from Dr. Bruce Bird. Dr. Bird is just a wonderful figure in the field. He's been someone I've looked up to throughout my career. He's president of Vinfen Corporation. And when Dr. Bird came to Vinfen, he was quite inspiring at helping all of us develop a range of services to support people with mental health problems as well as people with developmental disabilities. So, Julia, you have a question from Dr. Bird. Sorry, there's just a little delay.
Are you ready for Adam?
Yeah, we're going to see if we get that one question. And then Adam, I'll introduce a little bit about what Adam is going to be playing. I know that Adam has 2 pieces he's going to be performing. You'll see below the screen, you'll see what Adam is going to be performing. But his first one is going to be from a Spanish composer, and we know that means a lot to Adam. So just a second before we go there, a question for Elaine from Dr. Bird. So as the field has moved to early assessment of children with autism, should we be building in those parts of assessments to assess music or other creativity skills? Should that be a regular part of our assessments?
Dr. Berg, I love that question. I mean, I believe absolutely yes. We have the Miracle Project programs within schools, and because of that, there's more inclusion, more appreciation, more accepting. And Dr. Barry Prezant, with his CERTS method, has he's my mentor and dear friend, and with his CERTS method, creativity is part of the assessment. And we've started a non-speaking class at the Miracle Project that is bringing out aspects of our non-speakers that were originally deemed impossible. So I welcome an assessment. And we actually created an assessment tool for glancing and things that aren't as apparent in the traditional assessments that would be phenomenal. And I'm happy to work with you on it because—
What an exciting idea to begin to add more of a systematic assessment of this early on in someone's entry into education. What a great idea.
Great.
So thank you, Elaine. Thank you, everyone on the panel. This concludes the final panel discussion of Moving Images Film Festival. So thank you so much for joining us. And now we have a very special performance from panelist Adam Mandela Walden.